Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Sunday evening episode of Ted's Booze Cellar with me, your most gracious host, Ted. It is currently 5:48 on Sunday the 27th of June 2021. Hope I'm finding you all in a good state of affairs, and if I'm not, then I hope things improve for you very promptly. So, today we're going to be taking a look at a very special drink indeed. Now, you guys know I have a very strong affinity for Belgian beers, and my dad came down to see me where I live, and it was the first time, obviously, considering the pandemic and everyone getting vaccines here in the UK, it was the first time that he was able to do that in many months now. So it was good to see him, and he brought me a couple of little bits and pieces and some nice gifts. One of which was a couple of bottles of this fine little Belgian beer here, which is Bacchus Frambonzenbier, which is a Belgian raspberry beer. Kind of not too dissimilar from Kriek, although I did have the other bottle he got me of this yesterday, just before I had dinner, and that was, I do vaguely remember it having sort of kind of a yogurty finish and sort of being generally less sour than a Kriek, although perhaps not as sort of like sweet as perhaps, say, a apple lambic beer. But I'm generally pretty excited to try this. Now, it's not overly strong, so it's only 5% alcohol volume, 37.5 centilitre bottle. Now, let me just try and see. There is actually some writing here on the back in English. I was thinking most of it would either be in Flemish or French, obviously, but let's see. A typical Flemish beer with a pleasant wine-like taste and a rich past. This dark brown beer, which is partially matured in oak casks, has a slightly acidic aftertaste. Okay, so yeah, no, I'm looking forward to trying this. Yeah, so it was brewed by Kasteel Brouwerij. Look, it's on the back there. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think that's Flemish Dutch, I think. So I really can't say for sure. Unfortunately, the label has to be ripped off in this case because it got a bit wet, what with the condensation when I put this thing in the fridge, but it's still in good condition, and this is actually quite a nice bottle. The label itself was a nice mixture of beige and raspberry. I think just this bottle alone is quite nice. I'll give it a good 10 out of 10 actually. Simple, plain, properly European. So, let's have a snifter of it and see what our first impressions are like then. So, it has a tiny bit of an acidic, sort of like cork kind of like after smell. But yeah, definitely a very strong, juicy raspberry through line. And there's sort of like a slightly lagery crispness to it as well. So yeah, no, it smells really nice. I'll give that a good 10 out of 10, yeah. It smells really nice. Now, my dad did say as well, you have to like pour this, both the bottle and the glass tilted. Oh, spilled a little bit, but shouldn't be too much of a problem. So yeah, it kind of looks like it has the colour of actually an old dark Trappist ale, actually. Oh. Maybe that's just me. But, there we go. Right, nicely done. So yeah, apologies that I'm serving a Belgian beer in a beer glass designed for a Dutch one, so sorry about that. But anyway, let's see. So yeah, it kind of looks like a cross between sort of like a dark fruits sort of beer or cider and a how would you call it? It's like I said, a Trappist beer to a certain extent. It's got kind of like the dark hue of a Trappist beer, but it's not quite as dark. So, but yeah, I can definitely see what they meant on the back of the bottle by saying it's a brown beer anyway. So, let me see. So, just get rid of that head a little bit. But there we are, nicely done. So, I'm going to have a quick sip of this and then see what my first impressions are like, because it's continuously frothing over and I don't want to sort of drink it before it keeps making a mess, so bottoms up. Well, actually, quickly before I do that though, quick palate cleanser of water. Now, bottoms up, and thanks to my dad for providing us with this episode of Ted's Booze Cellar. No, even though it's got a bit of distinctive fizz to it, it's surprisingly smooth actually, both in terms of texture and flavour. The texture is quite sort of like, not it's kind of like a halfway between like a juicy and syrupy sort of texture in terms of how smooth it is. And even though there is like a fizzy through line, the fizziness is quite consistent throughout, and so it doesn't like muddy up the flavour a bit too much, which is a real problem I have with some beers. Then the flavour, it's kind of like this light, it kind of feels like it's got like the through line sort of like crisp flavour of like a Krieg, but like slightly less sour, and it's also got the similar level of sweetness as like say an apple lambic beer, sorry, but again slightly less sweet in that case. Generally speaking, I'd say it takes the better aspects of Krieg apple lambic beer and Bunguezi, and sort of like distills them down, sort of like mellows them down a little bit and combines them all together in sort of into more contemporary sort of like enjoyable beer. So generally I'd say this is probably more palatable to people who are less experienced with Belgian fruit beers. It's probably more generally accessible in terms of like its broad taste and appeal. But yeah, generally I really like this. This is really good. I'd still say I would like this to be a bit more of like a raspberry fruit taste and sort of like a slightly yogurty undertone to kind of counteract the acidity of it. But generally speaking, this is damn near perfect, and I wouldn't really change that much about it. So I will give it a 9.25. It is damn good beer, and I will gladly go out of my way to get it again. And wherever you go, unless it's like 1,000 euros a bottle, then I'd say it's definitely worth the price. But yeah, no, really, really good. Honestly, really, really nice beer. Very, very nicely done. But yeah, no, if you guys like this video, leave a like, share and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future episodes of Ted's Booze Cellar, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you want to check out anything else I do online, I'll leave the links to all that in the video description down below later today. But, ooh, pardon me. As always, stay safe, have fun with whatever you're doing, don't do anything I wouldn't do, wash your hands, take a mask with you to the shops, drink responsibly, know your limits, and I'll see you guys at the bar next time on Ted's Booze Cellar. Bye bye for now.